What to do if you're sick, tired, depressed, angry, injured, diseased, something's not right with your body or your brain. And if you go to a doctor, if you go to a medical professional of any kind, there's always a pill, powder or potion, some kind of medical intervention that they will give you to get better or to try and sort the challenge. How do we know they're going to work? How do we trust that they're going to work? How do we know that the medical professional that's giving us the advice knows what they're talking about? And as an old lady, the reason I ask those questions is I've lived on the planet a very long time. Obviously, I've been around a long time. And the medical professionals disagree. They're constantly arguing about the best medication or the best intervention to make you feel better, get you better, stop you from getting it again. But I'll rephrase that because there seems to be very little talk about prevention, very little talk about let's make sure that you don't get this thing happen to you again. There seems to be just talk about management. How do we manage the pain? How do we manage the feelings? How do we manage the injury or the disease rather than how do we get rid of it and how do we prevent it from ever happening again? Or even more importantly, do we ever talk about how do we prevent something from happening in the first place so that you never have to end up in a doctor's office or at a medical professional's office? And the reason I'm asking that question is I'm a really old lady, very rarely been sick in my entire life. I'm out here with what I call the ultimate way to be healthy, fit and strong, which is fresh air and sunshine. And I'm very privileged, and my mother taught me that from as long as I can remember. She always said, if you ever feel sick, if you ever feel unhappy, get outside in the fresh air and sunshine. If I ever had an injury or if I was ever sick, it was always get outside in the fresh air and sunshine. And the reason for that, as I often share, is my mother was a nurse in the Second World War in Berlin, where there were no medications or pills, powders, potions, medical interventions. And as a nurse, she wanted to help people get better. So that was one of her very important ways of helping people get better, was the ultimate antioxidant, antibiotic healer, which is called fresh air and sunshine. So I'm out in the fresh air and sunshine every single day. And interesting thing to take note of, and this is just an observation from an old lady. Most people now, and according to the American statistics in particular, spend at least 90% of their time inside. So that's artificial light, air-conditioned air, no fresh air and sunshine. And since we've been doing that, what's happened to the physical and mental state of the world? What's happened to the rate of disease? What's happened to the rate of depression? It just keeps going up and up and up. The world is fatter, sicker, weaker, more diseased and more depressed than it's ever been. But we spend more time inside, breathing in artificial air and under artificial light. So is it a placebo effect? And that placebo thing, which is we don't really have any proof as to whether or not it works, but if you do it, you feel better. Have you ever spent a day outside in the fresh air and sunshine and just felt good at the end of the day? Have you ever been in a position where you don't feel like doing anything, you want to just stay in bed and do nothing, but you forced yourself to get up? And you got outside and you did something in the fresh air and sunshine, whether it was go for a walk or a hike or a swim or a rock climb, or you worked in the garden or you took your dog for a walk, or you just did something outside and you felt better. So the reason I'm asking the question is, why do we go to the doctor first? And the reason that this is such an important question for me to ask is one of the biggest killers in the world now is medical misdiagnosis. There are a lot of horrible diseases. But one of the things that kills most humans when they go to the doctor is the information they're given from the doctor is a misdiagnosis. So we're told you've got this disease, but you've got a different one. They give you a medication and it kills you. And there's a lot of other medications and I hear this constantly, they're very safe and they're very effective and they work very, very well. They only kill a few people. I'm not saying that sarcastically. It's awesome. If there's 1 in a million people die from that medication, it sounds like a great medication. But it's not a great medication if you're the one person, because now you're dead. And the reason I share that is, why do we go to the doctor first? Why do we go to the medical professionals first? Are there some common sense things that we can consider, not just about curing and preventing from happening again, but I think most importantly, from ever happening? If you've got children, if you've got people in your life that you love and you never want them to get sick and they've never been sick, what do we need to do to make sure that they stay that way for the rest of their lives? And let's start with the fundamentals. If I'm outside and I've got fresh air and sunshine and I'm doing stuff, am I more likely to sleep well? If I sleep well, am I more likely to wake up with energy, enthusiasm for the next day? There's just some very simple things to consider. If I'm outside doing stuff in the fresh air and sunshine, whether it's hot or cold, am I more likely to want to drink water, for example? Dehydration is a major challenge. Brains don't work effectively, muscles don't work effectively. Your body just doesn't work well if you're dehydrated. But most people are dehydrated. The colour of your tinkle, the colour of your wee, if you do short little tinkles and they're yellow and stink, that means your body's not working well. So if you are outside doing something and you're thirsty, then you're less likely to be dehydrated because you're going to have a drink. The other thing that puts all of that together is the endocrine system, your hormones. Your endocrine system works really effectively when it has the right amount of fresh air and sunshine, when your body's fit and strong. If you're outside in the fresh air and sunshine doing stuff, are you more likely to be fit and strong? Are you more likely to have a happy headspace because your hormonal system works well? So your hormonal system starts in your brain, finishes in your root bit, and affects everything in your body. How hungry you are, how thirsty you are, how deeply you sleep, how excited you are. It affects all of your emotions. It affects whether or not you have muscles that get stronger. Everything is controlled by your endocrine system. But how do you have a fit endocrine system? And I'll use the thyroid, for example, because people always share with me, I'm fat because my thyroid's busted. I've got a poor metabolism because my thyroid's busted. My body doesn't burn up calories effectively. But there's a great question to ask there. Does your thyroid get busted and then you get fat, sick, weak and diseased? Or do you get fat, sick, weak and diseased and then you've got a busted thyroid? If you've got a healthy, fit, strong body, is it possible that all the systems in your body work effectively? Central nervous system, endocrine system, muscular and skeletal system, cardiovascular, respiratory system. Your immune system's built inside your bones. If you've got strong muscles pulling on your bones, you're going to have strong bones, which means you're going to have a stronger immune system, which means you're less likely to get sick. So the way I wrap all of that up, and there's obviously very important reasons that we've got great doctors. If you're in an emergency situation, if you've broken something, if you've been in an accident, really important to get medical care. But the things that are killing humans now, apart from medical misdiagnosis, which is coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, depression, most cancers, they're not caused by accident. They're caused on purpose by being unfit, weak, don't have a purpose for living because you don't like your life, you've got a lousy, stinking, rotten job, horrible people in your life, you don't feel like doing anything, so your body just rots away, wastes away. I don't want that for our kids. And the common old age diseases, coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, depression, they used to be for old people who stopped having a purpose in life, are now in our children. We've got little children who've got coronary heart disease or precursors to coronary heart disease and type 2 diabetes, both completely preventable. We've got little kids that are on antidepressant medication. We've got little kids who hate going to school and that they're being diagnosed with some kind of mental disorder because they get bored in school. Let's go back to what happens in school. We put kids inside, close the windows, turn on artificial light, they breathe in air-conditioned air, and they're sitting on their backside. They're sitting on their bum, taking out the biggest muscles in their body, and we wonder why there's a whole heap of kids that don't want to learn because they're bored to tears or their body's just not working effectively. If you're in the upright position outside in the fresh air and sunshine, like I am right now, and you're out doing something, you wake up with a purpose. What's my purpose? And surely we don't want our kids, their purpose to be a lousy, stinking, rotten job to pay their lousy, stinking, rotten bills. A lot of kids, their dreams are stolen because you're not smart enough, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you can't do that. So we take their dream off them. You can't be a dancer, you can't be a singer, you can't be a snowboard instructor, you can't be an architect, you're not smart enough to be a doctor. We take all that stuff off them, and then they've got no purpose to wake up in the morning, and we wonder why they're depressed, fat, sick, weak and diseased. I'm sounding harsh for a reason, because the simple things seem to have been forgotten. Fresh air, sunshine, deep sleep, hydration, a healthy, fit, strong heart, strong muscles and bones. That's all very simple. Get puffed to get fit, lift heavy to get strong, get fresh air and sunshine so all of the systems in your body work effectively. And if you want to avoid disease, avoid getting sick, and even if you get injured from, let's say get injured from a snow skiing accident, or you get injured from martial arts, that happens in my life regularly. People get an injury because they're a great martial artist. And in most sport, it's not if you get injured, it's when you're going to get injured, because you're putting your body in unusual positions. But there's a great thing to consider. If you've got a fit, strong body and all the muscles in your body are strong and they are working in the functional manner, when you go out rock climbing, when you go out snow skiing or snowboarding, when you go out water skiing, when you go to do martial arts, your muscles and bones are stronger, so that now you are less likely to get injured. If you do get injured though, and you spend more time in the fresh air and sunshine and less time in the doctor's office or the hospital, are you more likely to get better quicker? What a great question to ask. There's some really interesting research on people that are in hospital, and God forbid you ever end up in hospital. But people who are by the window getting sunshine through the window are more likely, or they spend less time in hospital, they recover quicker because they're getting sunshine. There's a hospital now in Melbourne it's designed around the sun, so that all the hospital rooms have sun coming in, and there's these big open courtyards where people can go out into the sunshine at the right time of the day. They've actually built the hospital so when the sun is the brightest is where you can go and stand in the courtyard and get fresh air and sunshine. I'm sharing all of that with you because I live in a world now where people literally, and you know they are, people are fatter, sicker, weaker, more diseased, more depressed. People just seem angry and unhappy. I don't want to live in that world. I live out in the arse end of nowhere in the South Island of New Zealand with puppy dogs I adore, a gorgeous husband who's a very old man, like I'm a very old woman. He's still doing martial arts at the top level because he's fit and strong, and he's got, not just mentally tough, but he's a really tough guy. And all of those things don't fall out of the sky in a pretty pink box. You've got to make sure that every single day, fresh air, sunshine, hydration, deep sleep, great food. The food thing is so complicated now, but why? Why not just eat more stuff that grows in the ground, or eat more stuff that runs on the ground, or a combination of both, and eat less food that's been screwed with by humans? I think that's a really great philosophy for food, don't you? Then there's the mental side of food. I can't have that, it's bad for me, I shouldn't eat it. Why? All food is awesome. It's just the amount in which you eat it, because there's plenty of people who eat food that you might think is bad and they live a really long time. A lot of the food that's considered bad, if you were going to die from starvation, if you ate that food, you wouldn't die. And I always ask that question. If I come across a bag of sugar and I haven't eaten for 3 weeks and I eat that sugar, it's going to keep me alive. It's not going to kill me. So why do we make food so complicated? How about eat when you're hungry, stop eating when you're full, eat all the foods that you love, don't waste food on calories that you don't like, or don't waste calories on foods that you don't like, I'll rephrase that. And for your mental health, always have food that you really love. Obviously you need nutritious food, but I'll say it again, if most of what you eat either grows in the ground, runs on the ground, or a combination of both, and it's not highly processed, is it likely that you'll be getting all the things that you need? So I'm trying to keep it really simple, uncomplicated, free. Nutrition's become expensive, exercise has become expensive. It's just not. Eat yummy food, get puffed, lift heavy, get fresh air and sunshine, sleep deep. I know I'm sounding like a broken record now, but it seems that the world's forgotten the fundamentals, so maybe they need to hear it more often. Repeat, 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 repeat. Did I get sunshine today? Did I get fresh air today? Did I sleep deeply? Did I eat yummy food? Did I get puffed? Am I strong because I'm lifting heavy? Am I putting my brain under challenge? Not with some dead-end horrible job. I'm actually doing what I love. They're all the important questions that I want our kids to be not just asking the question, but they know. Mummy, I've got to go outside. Daddy, I've got to get fresh air and sunshine. We've got to get puffed. We've got to lift heavy. We've got to have a happy, healthy life for the rest of our lives, because otherwise we'll end up like everybody else, fat, sick, weak, diseased, broken, unhappy. I don't want that for anybody. So if you want to live your life to the max, keep it simple. Keep it simple. The KISS principle is the ultimate way to live, isn't it? Keep it simple, and I'm going to add smiley on the end, because if you've got a positive attitude, obviously everything's better. But how do you have a positive attitude if you don't get out in the fresh air and sunshine? So live your life to the max with the simple things happening. Kiss, 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 kiss. Live your life to the max. What do you reckon, puppy dogs? Mine are all out in the sunshine today. Look at them. Woohoo! Bentley's out in the grass. Aston's up on the tower. Judo's out in the backyard. Woohoo! Live your life to the max.